But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why 35 years ago fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon.
And welcome back to another episode with Bamboozler Plays Kerbal Space Program. And today we are in episode 3. Lots to do, but previously in episode 2 what we ended up doing was obviously we launched a couple of rockets and we managed to orbit Kerbin, which was great because that was really one of the first major milestones we needed to complete to advance and move on. So when we look here in this beautiful viewpoint here from the tracking station is we managed to orbit this beautiful planet, and I think the next goal really is either to go to the Mun, which is quite far away, or the smaller moon, which is Mimnus, which might be which has less gravity from my recollection, my memory, at least if it serves me right. But it is a little bit further away, so the challenge is maybe equal. I don't know yet, but in order for us to go to either of those places, I think we need to also look at what we can do in terms of the science department. If we have new pieces to upgrade to get us to where we want to go to, which is ultimately one of the moons, Mimnus or the Mun. So we go to the development center to really get like the next heavy rocket. So that would help us get further. We'll need 90 science points. We only have 65. So really, ultimately, the only stuff that we can really get is stuff from here. And on top of that, also, what I remember from episode 2 is that we weren't able to EVA in space, which I think is an important piece to do, because if we do end up landing on the moon, we want to plant a flag, obviously, and collect any kind of science that we can while we're there on foot. Otherwise, what's the point of going, right? It's like going to an airport. Does that count if you go to a city or a country and all you do is transfer at the airport? Does that count that you've been there? It's kind of the same thing. If you go to the moon, but you don't really get to like leave your spacecraft or actually like go out of, into the place, then does it really count? No. So we definitely need to figure out how to do that. And I believe that requires us to upgrade the astronaut complex, which costs 75 spaceos, which is a lot of money, but it does give us an extra capacity of 5 active Kerbals. And I can see here, Kerbals can disembark only on Kerbin, which is interesting because I think we've already done that over here in that grass area over there. So probably we need to upgrade this to, oh, here we go. Kerbals can perform EVAs. So there we go, and plant flags. So that will cost us 75 spaceos, which is quite a bit of money considering we only have 120 spaceos give and take. Which really is just going to kind of strap us a little bit. And based on our learnings from, I think it was episode 2 as well, right? Where we had a bit of a financial crisis and had to bail our whole entire space program out. We might want to wait on getting that right now, because I think what we want to do while we grab this stuff over here, splash down a Kerbin. There's crew here. Let's recover this. Is that when we go back to the science department, I think what we want to do is we want to collect a little bit more science and probably get some of these propulsion pieces. Like I really like this fuel tank, for example. It's really, really small. Some of these engines are really, really small, which will allow us for a really compact and like robust type lander module, let's call it. But what I also want to do is when we get to the Mun, or Mimnus, is obviously we want to collect a bunch of science, which will then, and I'll click on the research development again, is to kind of push ourselves even further down this list, where you can see 160 science, and even for this one, 550, which we're definitely not going to do in one turn. But once we kind of achieve those type of unlockables, it'll really help us, again, push for more of the science experiment things that we would like to get, so that we can increase more science, so that we can get more through this research tree. So I think what we're gonna do before we actually launch into space and go directly to the Mun, which is obviously an option to do, I think what is best, and I was just having a quick look, here we go, is we're gonna want to test these micro landing struts. They're really skinny. Like I don't like them that much. They're quite short, and considering the fact that we want to bring all that science with us to the Mun, I think it's wise for us to test our idea for at least a landing module, right? Now, in most cases, right, with Kerbal Space Program, what we can do is obviously build something really tall, and if we put the micro landing struts here, and we put them down here, right, we can make it really, really tall. This is not that tall. I think probably more would be needed. But my fear about this is that this could create a problem with, you know, if we're not on a specific very flat surface, it could tip over our rocket, and at that point we would have to rescue the astronaut that we sent to the Mun or Mimnus, and that would just cost a lot more spaceos, which at this point we don't really have. So my thought process is to go a little bit different and utilize the radial decouplers, and let's at least center them, which I think is really important. And for now, because we don't have the small fuel tanks, we'll want to do something along the lines, and probably we'll need to use these fuel tanks anyways, because we want to bring that extra science with us. Which gives me a different thought, actually. Let me just change this, because what we essentially want to do is, so this Science Junior Bay, we want to bring 4 of them, because when we go to either Mimnus or the Mun, there is obviously science that we want to grab from deep space. We want to grab science from high orbit, low orbit, and obviously from the surface. So ideally, it'd be great if we can take 4 of these with us. So if we go to the Mun, let's just say we're going to build a lander. Obviously, we're going to need a parachute. And for the sake of testing, because I think it is important for us to make sure that we do that, let's bring a heat shield, because I think what we'll do is, actually, let me do this again. We'll want to bring a experiment storage unit, because then we can, you know, put all the science in there. And essentially, this will be the craft that will come back down to Kerbin, right after we've decoupled everything and collected all of the science. So all of that extra stuff beyond this, we're just going to leave out in space, or in the, you know, wherever it is that we're going to leave it. So let's just add the decoupler here. And my thought on this is, if we put a fuel tank here, which is good, and we put a little Terrier engine on the bottom of that, we've got something that's pretty compact and small. Then maybe, well, yeah, let's try this, and then what we can do is, it's a bit experimental. We can grab 4 of these, but we want to make sure that there's space for the Kerbal to basically walk out. So will they have that if I place these here? I think so. So what we'll do is we'll get the Science Juniors, because that's obviously, you know, the 4 pieces that we want to take with us. And then we'll put the put another fuel tank underneath, and let's take a smaller load. I think that would make sense. Why is this not working? There we go. Smaller fuel tank. So this is really like the stuff that's just gonna be basically in retrograde, retro burn, and will basically help us stop and land on the Mun. And so we basically have this base as our Mun lander, or Mimnus lander, and that will then allow us to create a little bit more of a I think a stabler kind of landing module. Now we could elect to go with 4, which, can we see how much weight these things can carry? So the tolerance is 10 meters per second on impact, so that's good to know. And the max, tolerance 50 Gs, pressure, none of this makes any sense to me, but regardless, I think this is kind of what we want. I mean, what we want to go for. We can also go for a little bit of overkill. Maybe see if we can do it like this. We need to make sure that we line this up properly, though, so that I think this is. I mean, we're eyeballing it at this point. I think this will be good. So this will be a little bit more. If we look at it from the top down, yeah. If we go with this route, then we probably will also want to put one here, so we make sure that every aspect of tipping over potential is basically stopped. But again, we have to eyeball this. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but that's okay because it's a test. So we got the, yeah. Let's try this. This I think will at least ensure that the weight distribution is sort of distributed across fairly. And yeah, we'll need some nose cones as well for this, just to make it a little bit more aerodynamic. So if we make this our lander, which is great, then obviously we'll need a spaceship that will take us into Kerbin orbit, and that will also allow us to travel to the Moon. And for that, I actually did a little bit of research because I have a wonderful book which is called Missions to the Moon. It's right here. You'll probably not be able to read it in the tiny text over here. And I was doing some reading, and it's a really cool book because it has all these like replica type documentation that NASA actually used, or transcripts and like what they called emails back then, so I guess memos about like, you know, the whole lunar plan and everything else. And it was quite interesting because you had this one scientist, von Braun, who actually thought of this idea of just sending one massive rocket with all the fuel to the Moon, or to our moon, let's say, and then bring the entire thing back, right? Like as a really heavy ship. And there was this other guy, I forget his name, I think John Hubolt is his name, is what I just read. He came up with a very drastic idea, which is kind of what he presented in an old school PowerPoint, which is basically a drawing, where he looked at like 3 different stages of the rocket. And I think we're going to take kind of like a similar approach, but not entirely. We're going to kind of blend the two between von Braun and Hubolt, where we will have like 3 different stages. I think a stage that takes us into Kerbin orbit, and then a stage that takes us to orbit of either Midness or the Moon, depending on what we decide on eventually. And then we'll have like the last bit, which is the bit that we're looking at right now, which will kind of help us land on the Moon and return us to Kerbin. But what we won't do, and that's what obviously NASA and you know, what they did with the moon landings, is set this up in a Hollywood studio. No, I'm kidding, not a Hollywood studio, but to dock something in space, because we don't have a docking port at this point. I checked in terms of coupling and payload, and or where would that actually be? Structural or robotics or command control? I don't know. We don't know. So this is basically going to be the final stage that's really going to take us there. So what we're going to do with this test is we've got our Science Juniors here planted. So we're going to take those and we're going to basically launch this, and we're going to collect some science in a different biome on Kerbin. And hopefully that's going to give us enough science to maybe get something that's a little bit more advanced than what we have right now. Because if I look at just our rocket fuel and our tanks, they're rather small. I know that we did upgrade our VAB, our vehicle assembly building. So I think our part limit right now is something like 255, and because it's almost bankrupt us, we also upgraded our launch pad. So in terms of the size of the ship and the weight, I don't think there's any issues with that. But what I do see an issue with is that the bigger we make the ship, the more delta V that we need to get into space, and the slower we're going to be. And I just don't think that we have the oomph or the power with the Reliant engine or even with the swivel. So this is what my hope is this mission is really just to collect some science before we actually attempt to go to the moon. So in theory, we'll have something like this. I'm just gonna add these 2 on this side. We'll just add some more rockets here, or at least some fuel tanks, and let's make it a little bit pretty, just so that we kind of get accustomed to, you know, what it in theory is going to look like if we end up launching this mission at all. So let's put some aerodynamics on this one as well, and then obviously we need to make this thing look cool, so we'll give it some wings for some stability. So let's do it like this and like that. And then we'll see if this actually turns enough. I mean, I think it will, because we've got swivel engines here at the very bottom, so they'll be able to assist with the turning. But what we're basically going to be looking at is how maneuverable are we going to be with all of this heavy stuff on top. And let's just retract these landing legs, which is a lot. So that's good. Hopefully they will all retract or detract, at least not fall off, but help us with the landing when we land in a different biome. Is to see, well, basically right when we launch, is if we're gonna be able to maneuver properly and have all the right stuff. So we'll just take a communitron just in case if there is an emergency. We can go back and radio in to our space agency. And let's make sure also that we bring enough science. And my thought process behind this is, because we are going to either Midness or the Moon, we we want to be able to collect some of that extra data as well, right? So because we've got 4 of these, the way we can kind of like track it is because every time we're going to use some of this stuff, some of the science, right? We're going to take the science junior because we're not taking a scientist with us. We can only use it once. Meaning, I'm just going to take a bunch of these ones as well, so that once this one's open, I'll know that I've also researched the other ones, right? And that's kind of the approach that we'll take in this regard for this mission as well, just so that we know that this is the weight that we're bringing, and that the landing legs will be sufficient enough to help us land. And then obviously once we got our science pieces in place, which one more to go, we'll name the ship as a new mission, because the last time we had the orbiters, so we're going to move away from the orbiter ships, and now we're going to call this one, I mean, we can be kind of boring and call it Apollo. I haven't really thought about what I want to call this ship, but because we haven't quite decided on Nimnus or Namun, we're going to call it the Mummis 1. That's what we're going to do. Because essentially, I mean, this type of thing is going to bring us to both moons outside of Kerbin. So yeah, Mummis it is. So we'll save it, and I think we'll be ready for launch. I think for this particular test, we're not going to take Jebediah. He's going to take a little break. We're going to take his girlfriend, Valentina, is going to go. I think she'll be great for this. And I think what we're going to need to do is, so basically my thought process, right? We're going to launch. We're going to not use all of this fuel tank. We're kind of going to aim for a different biome. I was thinking, I saw desert, I think in episode 2, so we just need to go the other direction from where we are. And there's also this other space center, which I don't know about because I've never seen that, but I've seen it on the map. So we kind of want to aim for that, see and check out what that all is. So once we use up all the fuel here, maybe we won't. We'll take this lander here. Now this particular parachute is just going to simulate kind of like the slowdown effect on us coming down to the moon, and then we'll use these engines here to kind of slow down our descent even further and aim for that, 10 meters per second kind of descent as we're retracting the legs down. That's kind of my thought process. So let's just check that we make sure that we have all of our things set up accordingly. Maybe that wasn't a good idea. Maybe this does need to be up here, because that could be our lifeline. If we end up expending all of the fuel here, we'll still have at least one tank here, and we can let go of all of that stuff. I don't know. We'll figure this out. I think we're in a good spot here. We're not going to save that one because I think I might have messed that one up. And I think we're ready for launch. So Valentina is in, just to double check. Yes, she is. So good luck on Mumnus 1, and we're launching. We're ready to go. So let's take a little sip of water. We're in a loading screen. And here we are. So first thing, which is good, ship looks stable. So that's definitely a positive. And I think if we look at the map screen here, where are we? We are on this side of Kerbin. And I was thinking if we could fly over this direction here. So this to me looks like desert. And here you can see there's a desert airfield. So we kind of want to aim for that. So I'm going to click on active navigation. I don't know what that does. I don't know if that does anything with the nav ball or not, but I've activated the navigation point. So we'll see if that actually works or not, which means we need to basically head, let me think about this. So is the sun setting on the west or east? Well, at least we're going left. We're going left. And if we don't go left and we end up somewhere else, that's fine too, because we just want to go to a different biome and collect some science and test our rocket. So essentially when we do go to Mimnus or the Mun, obviously the rocket will be a lot bigger, so we'll be quicker going off. But this is exactly what I mean by, we don't really have good enough power to weight ratio, considering we don't have the big tanks. And obviously we could probably use some of the boosters as well, but this just also kind of displays why we're looking for more science, because at this point these rockets that we have, and considering the weight that we want to bring to the moon and Mimnus, just isn't sufficient. It just isn't. I mean, I actually have a sneaking suspicion we might not even make it to the desert. So now that things are going all wrong, which is not good, let's see if we can maybe aim for something else. At least get some traction here. So that is the area that we were aiming for. This isn't very good because we're losing speed. We're far too heavy, and that's not good. So okay, at least now we're gaining some speed, but I am now afraid that we're not going to get any more new science. We have absolutely no control of this spaceship, so definitely we have some issues in terms of maneuverability and how we actually do this, because it's extremely unstable. Obviously, it's also because we're in the most thickest part of the atmosphere, so that doesn't help. But hopefully, I heard some explosions. I hope that was... Yeah, our space center is fine. Our rocket isn't, but let's just conduct at least some experiments, grab something. So that's a lot of science right there. So that's actually quite decent. So I'm not too concerned now about the performance of our rocket. It was, we didn't get far. I mean, we wanted to aim for the other space station, and we can still see our original space station. So, or we wanted to go to that particular airfield and we can't find it. But that's okay, because we could do some experiments. Like I said, we've opened up one of the science bays, so that means we just do quick experiments on the barometer if there's anything for us to grab, and lastly the temperature and the mystery goo, which again there was hardly anything there. So that was almost nothing. So yeah, we're not really going to visit a new biome in this particular one, but we're going to release this, and then we're at least going to test out our lander. So there goes our legs. Our legs go off, and then we're gonna shoot this particular. We might not even be able. We might not need our parachute at all to deploy. But what we are going to test right now is at least how fast this liquid fuel is actually burning, because we've got these small tanks, right? And maybe if we get a bit more science, there's the option. Actually, I do want to basically get my parachute going now, because it's going to slow us down enough. Because yeah, if we get the smaller tanks, if we get the smaller engines, maybe we can put them on the side of the Science Junior, again making it a little bit more compact, and that will help us out quite a bit as well, right? Okay, we're gonna drop those, and we're just gonna go this way, and we're not gonna get the extra science. It's okay. We definitely messed up because we didn't grab the science. That's a lot of explosions. Because we didn't actually grab the science from the Science Junior, which was 17, which is a bit of a shame. So this was just a Spaceos waste. Again, we're wasting money, but regardless about the science that we didn't get, at least we learned quite a few different things. So I think what we're gonna do once we land this ship is just see if there's any science for us to grab here. Anyways, there's some nice little rocks. Hopefully we don't land in the tree. We don't, right next to it, so that's pretty nice. We're gonna do a little crew report down here. There's no science to be gained, unfortunately. We'll just take a little ganther, or what is it? Just have a little walk around. Let's take a little EVA report, nothing there. See if there's anything for us to do on the actual surface. Is there like a... No, there's nothing there for us to do either, so that was a failure. But that's okay, because we learned. We learned what not to do, which is just as important as learning what to do, said someone very famous once. Regardless, I think what we're going to need to do next is we'll just redo this particular one. It does say that, yeah, we still only have 65 science, obviously. We lost a bunch of reputation and a bunch of Spaceos. Let's see if there's any things debris that we can recover that will help us with some of getting the money back. Gosh, that was an expensive test that didn't deliver anything. We're gonna have to go to mission control and see if there's maybe a mission that we can kind of help and achieve some extra cash flow. Because this one would be nice, for example, to get some cash flow in, and including some science, where basically we want to test the decoupler on an escape trajectory out of Kerbin. Oh, that's something that we would do if we're actually leaving Kerbin, so I don't think we're gonna do that. Anyways, let's just grab the science first. I think that's most important. and let's think about how we're going to do this. How we're going to do this next. So definitely a pretty bad failure, but what I'm going to do in this case is we are going to protect ourselves, where we're still going to try what we originally intended to do, because the signs would be really good to have. And let's look at the engines, and let's just go with these ones, these rocket boosters. I'm pretty sure that they will definitely get us up higher, and perhaps give us a little bit more control in terms of where we go once we escape like the thickness of the original atmosphere. And so we've added some extra parachutes. Let's put them right here at the top. And then what we don't want to do is we don't want these ones. So let's put these parachutes on the second one. Let's put this one over here, and then these ones that we don't want to let go, let's put them there. Let's create one more. We put the parachutes in this particular one. Here we go, the parachutes. And I think this decoupler as well, we want to put that in a staging place that, you know, if we need to do it, we'll do it right at the end. Let's try this again. Except this time, yeah, Valentina, except with some better boosters. And what I also kind of figured out was, as soon as we got rid of that first stage, we just didn't have any control. So let's get some cool wings on this particular spaceship. That will help us, certainly. So let's just check we've got everything sorted. Everything is staged the way we want it to stage. And let's see what happens if we do attempt to go to the desert this time. And I hope the target's still there. If not, you can always adjust in the map view. And that's attempt number 2. I know we didn't change the name of this spacecraft. It's a mistake on my end, but yeah, that first one was so bad that we're just gonna pretend like we didn't do that. All right, let's go launch. This time we're definitely getting a little bit more oomph off the space port, but again, I don't think it's gonna be enough. Never know. Maybe this will get us a little bit further, and at least that's at least then test out, you know, the landing purposes and everything else, which again we didn't really manage last time. And again, we're losing this ship. It's not good. I guess we'll head for that area over there. Hopefully that's a different biome. Don't really have a choice. It's going fast, which is good, but it's also going in the wrong direction. So we're heading down rather than up, and we're doing it at a blistering speed. So let's get this going. Let's get this ship going. Let's get this ship. Okay, abort. Yeah, that was at least we know that we can abort. Oh, there goes our rocket. This is no good. This is no good. But we are getting some signs from the water, so that's good. At least we got a bit of signs. We're getting a little crew report here. Let's see if there's any mystery goo for us to pick up. Yes, there is. And a little barometer check. Yes, there is. So at least we didn't waste it at all. We did end up. Oh, and there goes our. Look at that. Our little spaceship over there, 2 kilometers away, and exploding into the water. Good. Sinking into the bottom of the ocean. I mean, if we stay here, that was a loud explosion. If we stay here, we could find out how deep the water is, but we saw because it disappeared at 2.8 kilometers, which means this is pretty deep. It's pretty deep. Let's do another materials study, see if it actually does anything. I don't think it does, because I think it's the same one as we already did, but you never know. If this does help, just test it out. It's an experiment anyways. And at least then we know that all the Science Juniors work. Okay, let's recover this vehicle. And I think we're going to need to regroup. And with that being said, thank you for watching, and see you at the next episode.